it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Penny Reid, who's been working with DISC products since 1989, becoming one of the UK's foremost DISC practitioners and experts.
Good morning, everyone. In this web clinic, I'm going to show you how DISC has progressed and share some ideas about how to get the most from the new resources. So to make the most of our time together, I'm keeping the agenda very focused so that firstly, you'll understand how DISC has developed from the familiar graphs of DISC Classic to the dots of everything DISC. Then we'll explore how much more versatility there is now. And finally, you'll go away with plenty of ideas for how to maintain momentum by using the appropriate DISC resource for the desired outcome. This includes an exciting mobile-friendly development that enables respondents to view their reports and support material on their own devices. For those of you who've been using DISC in one form or another, you will recognise the value of learning the one DISC model once and then being able to apply it in a variety of situations. And this is at the heart of everything DISC. As most of you know, the DISC model, devised by William Moulton Marston in 1928, is in the public domain, and there are several questionnaires out there on the market. Everything DISC is unique, the only DISC profile in the world that's able to plot results in a circular format, making visual interpretation and comparisons much easier and much more accessible for respondents. So let's start. How did my graph become a dot? DISC Classic, in the familiar graph-based format, has been around for more than 40 years, and more than 50 million profiles have been completed. It's available in 29 fully validated, not just translated, language versions. It's available online and on paper. It can be used alongside later DISC products and resources because it continues to be a valid tool based on the trait theory of an individual's behavioural needs. What's particularly significant about everything DISC is that it has developed from and is totally consistent with Marston's original presentation of the model in circular or circumplex format, where the circle represents the whole person within his or her environment. Everything within the circle is within the individual's control, while everything outside the circle is the environment in which affects the individual's behavioural responses. Now, before we move on, I want to reassure you that Wiley is maintaining DISC Classic for the foreseeable future, as it continues to be a valid and well-used, not to say a well-loved tool. However, by returning to the circular presentation of DISC, we are offering the individual a highly visual, modern look and feel, and according to the feedback since its introduction, a more intuitive opportunity for guided self-interpretation. As we progress through this web clinic, you'll see how the circle makes it easier to bridge well-researched theory and practical applications, use with earlier products and resources, as I said just now, integrate with familiar and behavioural and self-awareness models. As you guide your clients through their learning, you will want to point out the main features. In this example, the segment location of the doc. So D, I, S and C, these are segments, and the dot, in this case in the S segment, the location of it, in this case near the C segment, suggests a close affinity with C for conscientiousness behaviour. The distance of the dot from the centre indicates the likely strength of that behavioural choice. Someone whose dot is close to the outer edge of the circle is probably more committed to that disc style. In this example, there's a moderate commitment. In other words, the closer the dot is to the center of the circle, the more flexible an individual can be across all 4 styles, while the closer the dot is to adjacent segments suggests a relatively easy option to use that behavior. The shading, as you can see here, indicates natural strength in all these behaviors. And again, the relative ease with which an individual might be able to demonstrate such behaviors in given situations. We refer to this as the range of movement. The white space, or the lack of shading, suggests more challenge that requires significant investment of energy that may manifest itself in stress if prolonged, or fatigue if required temporarily. Now we're going to take a brief look at the sample report, the Everything Disc Workplace report that we emailed you the link for. On the top right, you can see cornerstone principles, and it's important to re-emphasize these as often as possible with respondents. They are the same as you already emphasize whenever you introduce DISC or refresh someone's knowledge, and that is, all DISC styles and priorities or preferences are equally valuable. Trait theory tells us that we all have the choice of all behaviors. Your style is influenced by other factors than just behavioral choice. Understanding yourself better is the key to being more effective with other people and in varied situations. And understanding how others choose to behave helps you accept and value difference. The basic circumplex model is shown in every Everything DISC report to reinforce the principles of the DISC model. It's often helpful to view it as a compass. So the north-south axis, moving between D and I and S and C, okay, is about pace and reaction. And the east-west axis, moving between IS and DC, is about focus and reaction. So for example, by pace, I mean how quickly an individual responds to a situation. And by focus, I mean whether an individual focuses on tasks or relationships. Another way to view this north-south continuum is to assess an individual's need to overtly control or to adapt, while the west-east or east-west continuum ranges from the need to detach from a situation to affiliate with the people involved in that situation. Continuity from DISC Classic to Everything DISC is reinforced by the simplified model on this page by presenting the familiar key descriptors of the 4 primary styles. So let's work through one example. In this image, we can see an individual with a primary I style with a slight inclination. That is to say, the dot is relatively central to the segment and is close to the center. The shading suggests a good ability to move and use these other styles when necessary. Now, what is remarkable and unique about Everything DISC is that the 79-item questionnaire uses adaptive testing to identify unexpected responses. This technique is normally only available in ability tests. And as you can see in the image, in the next image on the right of the screen, you will see a hatched area. Let me just point that out. A hatched area which indicates an individual with a primary eye style, but with a need for accuracy in some situations. So this might suggest someone whose general behavioural style is outgoing and people-oriented, but who would need in certain circumstances, for instance, organising a business-critical event for the executive board. So there would be a need to ensure that the venue, the content, the catering arrangements and the entertainment were going to be perfect. This is a reflection of this need for C behaviour in certain situations. Within the online profile system, the facilitator has access to a supplementary report to help with the understanding and interpretation of these unexpected items that produce the hatched output. And in my experience, this helps the respondent explain why he or she sometimes behaves in ways that others find confusing. On the next screen, we have more examples of the flexibility of Everything Disc. To help you select the most appropriate profile for the individual and or your learning objective, Everything Disc presents the same basic model each time, the familiar DISC basic model, while modifying the 8 priorities around the edge as appropriate. So using Everything Disc Workplace as the basic map for self-awareness, the map for Everything Disc Management reflects the slight change in emphasis, for example, in the I dimension, where we have encouragement rather than enthusiasm. In the SC dimension, we have reliability instead of stability. In the C dimension, we have objectivity instead of accuracy. And in the D dimension, we have drive instead of results. Similarly, in the Everything Disc Sales map, this reflects the changes in the IS dimension, with the focus on relationships rather than collaboration. In the S dimension, where the focus shifts to sincerity rather than support. And in the CD dimension, in the C dimension, we have quality rather than accuracy. And in the CD dimension, we have competency as opposed to challenge. Now, these map differences will not confuse respondents because you will have helped them understand how behaviour is a response to the environment. As the environment changes, the basic DISC map remains the same, while the purpose of the behaviour may differ. And whichever map you start with, the explanation is the same. I promised at the beginning of this web clinic to help you see the versatility of Everything Disc, and as we move on, you can see how Everything Disc offers a consistent behavioural approach to leadership development based on DISC. In this image, you see the familiar 4 primary styles, but this time with 8 leadership priorities that, as with the other Everything Disc maps, offers 12 permutations across those quadrants. You see each quadrant has 3 priorities, some of which are consistent with the adjacent one. So each one has 3. These descriptors reflect the leadership characteristics that go even deeper into the 24 leadership attributes that form the basis of the questions in the Everything Disc 363 for Leaders profile, a 360-degree feedback tool that incorporates DISC. Now, Everything Disc 363 for Leaders isn't just any 360. It combines the best of 360 techniques, including ranked responses and free-form text, with the simplicity and the power of DISC, plus 3 personalised strategies for improving leadership effectiveness. The result is a 360-degree experience that's more productive and satisfying for both recipient and raters. Now, this profile needs a webinar of its own to go through all the detail. So We'll let you know when the next one is scheduled, and we hope to welcome you there. Maintaining this theme of consistency of approach, the next image shows the result of research by Wiley into what followers look for in their leaders. And based on extensive analysis of current and peer-acclaimed literature, 3 key elements of the role of leadership were identified. Vision, alignment, and execution. Each of these elements contains 3 essential aspects of the role, and each of those contains 2 specific competencies. Everything DISC work of leaders builds on an individual's DISC style and priorities and offers insights into how these behavioural preferences might affect his or her leadership approach and responses to the challenges of leadership. This is another example of how you can maintain the momentum and application of DISC knowledge by introducing another tool at the appropriate point in an individual's development. So, to summarise what's available to you within Everything DISC, this image shows almost all the products currently offered, all of which are only available online. So far we've seen Everything DISC Workplace, Management and Sales. And from these you can produce the Group Culture Report, which, as the name suggests, summarises the behavioural culture of a group of participants that you've selected, but without showing their names. This is particularly suitable for what I refer to as immature groups, groups that haven't been worked long together or maybe are having some challenges within their relationships. You may want to start a discussion about behaviour affects the way they work together. Alternatively, you have the Group Facilitator Report, which also includes all the participants, but this time they're named, and it was originally designed for facilitators, but which many choose to share with participants who are ready to assess and discuss their behavioural preferences in order to improve their group or team effectiveness. And then we have the Team View, which is a free summary of the Everything DISC map of each participant in the group or team. We've also seen the Everything DISC Work of Leaders and the Everything DISC 363 for leaders. So that leaves the Everything DISC comparison reports, more about these in a moment, and Everything DISC customer interaction reports. These are not shown on the screen, but they are available to anyone who has completed an Everything DISC sales profile. And by thinking about a customer style, you can create a mini Everything DISC for that customer and plan your sales approach in advance. All customer interaction maps remain available for use as and when required. I should just mention at this point that all of these reports can be branded with your logo or your client's logo through your online account. Some of you already know about this and use it very effectively. For those of you who are still considering the option, please be aware that we give full and ongoing support with the online system. So returning to the comparison reports, if there's one aspect of Everything DISC that has the potential to make an immediate difference in people's lives once they've mastered DISC basics, it's through comparison reports. They're called comparison reports because they compare the behavioural preferences of 2 people and the impact of these behaviours on their relationship. The report offers insights across situational continua and opens up conversations that might otherwise be difficult to start. Now, these reports can be created for any 2 people who have completed any profile in the Everything DISC range and are available at no additional cost and in any permutation. Critically, there are 2 reports in each comparison, one for person A with person B and the other for person B with person A. Now, once you become familiar with these reports, you will find that there are many situations where they prove useful. Typical applications include coaches with their coachees. Coach completes his or her profile once, and each time they take on a new coachee, they just make that comparison to assess how they might work most effectively together. Managers with individual team members. A manager with his or her PA, EA or secretary. Managing upwards. Personal relationships. Business relationships within family firms, between individual family members. And not forgetting consultants, whether they're internal or external, consultants with clients. And finally, the latest development from Wiley is a truly 21st century edition. MyEverythingDisc.com is a personalised portal. It gives respondents direct access to their reports from their mobile, tablet or any other device that can browse the internet. As I hope you can see from this image, there is much, much more, including accessible online learning opportunities. Tell me more about my disc, tell me more about my style. But that's the subject of another webinar in this series, and we'll be sending out invitations when the next one's scheduled. Okay, James, I make that around about 23 minutes. So while there's so much more I want to share with you all, James tells me that we have some questions.
Yes, Penny, thank you, and thank you everyone for your questions. First one I have, and one we were asked outside the webinar also, is how easy is it to use Everything Disc with Epic?
Okay, the short answer to it is incredibly easy. All you have to do is contact us if you already have an Epic account, an online management account, and we will add whichever products from the Everything Disc range that you would like to have added at no cost to you. And we will support you as you learn how to use them. We have not added these indiscriminately to your accounts because we have found that it is better for you to have a real need and to understand how to use them. But the minute you say you want to go, it takes very little time, and those of you who have had contacted with Jan at our office will know that she is very, very able and makes it very easy for this to happen for you. So after this webinar, just let us know and we'll do it for you. And of course there's a big plus once you have these in your own Epic system, and that is that you can customize them, remember that slide from before, so that you can distribute these to your clients and prospective clients as a demonstration of the service that you can provide. Okay, James?
Thank you. Next question, is there any research to back this up or that can be used to put in front of clients should they wish to know more about the what weight the products have behind them?
Yes, indeed, there are. That is a critical part of Wiley's development process is to make sure that all of the products that they're now bringing into the market are fully researched, fully validated, and in each case that we can provide a research report. We will be adding to this page on our an exclusive page for you who have attended this webinar on our website, ITDA.com, graph to dot, all the samples of the research reports as well as the sample reports that I've been showing you today.
Thank you. Very good question here. How much does it cost?
Well, this is an inevitable question. The basic Everything Disc workplace profile uses 15 Epic credits. From this, as you can see, once you've done the basic profile, you can produce the comparison reports and the team views at no cost at all. If you want people to do other profiles, the Everything Disc Management, Everything Disc Sales, and then the group reports, those have an Epic cost associated with them, and once you get those products into your Epic system, you will be able to produce the list that some of you are familiar with that shows you the charges per report. One I would like to mention in particular is the Everything Disc 363 for Leaders 360-degree profile system. That does use 50 credits, but it has, we haven't tested this to destruction yet, but almost an infinite number of raters can be. So one respondent, but as many raters giving them feedback to this leader as you want. Okay,
Brilliant, thank you. And probably our last question of the session. I like the intensity index of Disc Classic, helping people to see how others who are different from them perceive them. It creates useful dialogue. Is this available in the dot form?
The short answer is no, they have not built this into the system. But remember I said about the interchangeability of these. So once you get used to the idea of the centered, the range of movement and so on, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't use the intensity index in some form to match with where the dot is in the segment. I've certainly fed this back to Wiley as one of the most useful and I think actually underused parts of Disc Classic, and please just watch this space. If you're interested in knowing how to support the new Everything Disc Dot, you can also now get a really useful 250-page book called the Everything Disc Manual that if any of you are interested in, we'll send you details about.
Brilliant. Thank you, Penny, and thank you everyone for your questions. If, as often happens with webinars, you have a flash of inspiration after the session and need some clarification on any of the points Penny's covered, please just get in touch. We're more than happy to help. Either email them to the address on screen or, as always, if you'd like to speak to a real person, please call our office. Now let me pass you back to Penny to close the session.
Thank you. I hope you now have a really good understanding of how disc graphs became Everything Disc Dots. And if you're still wondering whether your clients are ready for Everything Disc, ask yourself this. Am I thinking about what's best for my clients and my long-term relationship with them? If the answer is yes, then Everything Disc offers continuity with the disc model, enabling you to progress when your client is ready. In that context, let me just say to you as well, mention that we do have a program offered by Wiley called Reach Back, Leap Forward, where if any of your clients have taken Everything Disc Classic online, you will be able to offer them an Everything Disc profile at a much reduced cost for the next 12 months. Anybody who's interested in that, please contact us and we'll give you more information as to how that actually works. But coming back to, if your answer is yes to the question of moving on with Everything Disc, if you embed Everything Disc in your client's culture, you really can develop a common language for both of you. And of course you will be co-branding with the world's leading disc publisher, and you'll be able to customize all the resources. By way of following up this web clinic, we will make the recording available to you and we will notify the winner of the draw for either a free online account or a bundle of Everything Disc workplace profiles. Thank you very much for spending this last half an hour with us. Thank you, James, for moderating the event. It's great to connect with like-minded people. I hope you'll join us for future webinars in this series. Thank you very much for your time.